Welcome to the 1000 Nights and 1 Night. Now, when it was the 329th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the young lady rejoined, We accept thine excuse, and calling one of her slave maids, said to her, O Luft, give him a drink in the golden tankard. So she brought me a tankard of red gold, set with pearls and gems of price, full of water mingled with virgin musk, and covered with a napkin of green silk. And I addressed myself to drink, and was long about my drinking, for I stole glances at her the while, till I could prolong my stay no longer. Then I returned the tankard to the girl, but did not offer to go. And she said to me, O Sheikh, wend thy way. But I said, O my lady, I am troubled in mind. She asked me for what? And I answered, For the turns of time and the change of things. Replied she, Well, mayest thou be troubled thereat, for time breedeth wonders. But what hast thou seen of such surprises that thou shouldest muse upon them? Quoth I was thinking of the whilom owner of this house, for he was my intimate in his lifetime. Asked she, What was his name? And I answered, Mohammed bin Ali the jeweler, and he was a man of great wealth. Tell me, did he leave any children? Said she, Yes. He left a daughter, Budur, by name, who inherited all his wealth. Quoth I, Meseemeth thou art his daughter? Yes, answered she, laughing, then adding, O Sheikh, thou hast talked long enough. Now wend thy way. Replied I, Needs must I go. I see thy charms are changed by being out of health. So tell me thy case. It may be Allah will give thee comfort at my hands. Rejoiced she, O Sheikh, if thou be a man of discretion, I will discover to thee my secret. But first, tell me who thou art, that I may know whether thou art worthy of confidence or not. For the poet saith, None keepeth a secret but a faithful person. With the best of mankind it remaineth concealed. I have kept my secret in a house with a lock, whose key is lost and whose door is sealed. Therefore I replied, O my lady, I am, wouldst know who I am? I am Ali bin Mansur of Damascus, the wag-cut companion to the commander of the faithful, Harun al-Rashid. Now, when she heard my name, she came down from her seat, and saluting me said, O welcome, Ibn Mansur. Now will I tell thee my case, and entrust thee with my secret. I am a lover, separated from her beloved. I answered, O my lady, thou art fair, and shouldest be on love terms with none but the fair. Whom then dost thou love? Quoth she, I love Jubayr bin Umayr al-Shabani, Emir of the Banu Shaban. And she described to me a young man, that whom there was no prettier fellow in Basra. I asked, O my lady, have interviews or letters passed between you? And she answered, Yes, but our love was tongue love, not heart and soul love. For he kept not his trust, nor was he faithful to his troth. Said I, O my lady, and what was the cause of your separation? And she replied, I was sitting one day, whilst my handmaid here combed my hair. When she had made an end of combing it, and plaited my tresses, and my beauty and loveliness charmed her, so she bent over me and kissed my cheek. At that moment he came in unawares, and seeing the girl kiss my cheek, straightways turned away in anger, vowing eternal separation, and repeating these couplets. If another share in the thing I love, I abandon my love, and live lorn of love. My beloved is worthless if aught she will, save that which her lover doth must approve. And from the time he left me to this present hour, O Ibn Mansur, he hath neither written me, nor answered my letters. Quoth I, And what proposest thou to do? Quoth she, I have a mind to send him a letter by thee. If thou bring me back an answer, thou shalt have 500 gold pieces, and if not, then 100 for thy trouble in going and coming. I answered, Do what seemeth good to thee. I hear and obey thee. Whereupon she called to one of her slave girls, Bring me ink case and paper. And she wrote thereon these couplets. Beloved, why this strangeness? Why this hate? When shall thy pardon reunite us two? Why dost thou turn from me in severance? Thy face is not the face I am wont to know. Yes, slanderers false my words, and thou to them, inclining, maddest spite and envy grow. And hast thou believed their tale? For heavens forbid! Now thou believe it, one dost better trow. By thy life, tell me what hath reached thine ear. Thou knowest what said they, and so justice show. And it be true, I spoke the words, my words. Admit, interpreting, and change allow. Given that the words of Allah were revealed, folk change the Torah, and still changing go. What slanders told thee of mankind before? Jacob heard Joseph blamed by tongue of foe. Yea, for myself, and slanderer, and thee, an awful day of reckoning there shall be. Then she sealed the letter, and gave it to me, and I took it and carried it to the house of Jubayr bin Umayr, and I found absent a hunting. So I sat down to wait for him, and behold, he returned from the chase, and when I saw him, O Prince of the true believers, came riding up, my wit was confounded by his beauty and grace. As soon as he sighted me sitting at the house door, he dismounted, and coming up to me, embraced me, and saluted me, and meseemed I embraced the world and all therein. Then he carried me into his house, and seating me on his own couch, called for food. They brought a table of candament wood, of Khorasan, with feet of gold, whereon were all manners of meats, fried and roasted, and the like. So I seated myself at the table, and examined it with care, and found these couplets engraved upon it. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say. Now, when it was 330th night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Ali son of Mansur continued. So I seated myself at the table of Jubayr bin Umayr al-Shabani, and examining it with care, found these couplets engraven upon it. O these which once were chicks, your morning glances fix, late dwellers in the mansions of the cup, now nearly eaten up. Let tears bedew the memory of that stew, those partridges once roasted, now lost. The daughters of the grouse in plaintive strain bemourn and still bemoan and mourn again. The children of the fry we lately saw half smothered in pillau, with buttery mutton fritters smoking by. Alas, my heart, the fish who filled his dish, with flaky form and varying colors spread, on the round pastry cake of the household bread. Heaven send us that kebab, for no one should, say heaven should rob, produce a thing so excellently good, or give us roasted meat with basting oil so savorily replete. But, oh, mine appetite, alas, for thee, who on that fermentary so sharp set was a little while ago, that fermentary whose mashed by hands of snow a light reflection bore of the bright bracelets that those fair hands wore. Again, remembrance glads my sense with visions of all excellence. Again, I see the cloth unrolled, rich worked in many a varied fold. Be patient, O my soul, they say. Fortune rules all that's new and strange, and though she pinches us today, tomorrow brings full rations and change. Then said Jubayr, Put forth thy hand to our food, and ease our heart by eating our victuals. Answered I, By Allah, I will not eat a mouthful till thou grant me my desire. He asked, What is thy desire? So I brought out the letter and gave it to him, but when he read it and mastered its contents, he tore it in pieces, and throwing it in the fire, said to me, O Ibn Mansur, I will grant thee whatever thou askest, save thy desire, which concerneth the writer of this letter, for I have no answer to her. At this I rose in anger, but he caught hold of my skirt, saying, O Ibn Mansur, I will tell thee what she said to thee, albeit I was not present with you. I asked, And what did she say to me? And he answered, Did not the writer of this letter say to thee, If thou bring me back an answer, thou shalt have of me 500 ducats, and if not 100 for thy pains? Yes, replied I. And he rejoined, Abide with me this day, and eat and drink and enjoy thyself, and make merry, and thou shalt have thy 500 ducats. So I sat with him, and I ate, and I drank, and I made merry and enjoyed myself, and entertained him with talk deep into the night, after which I said to him, O master, is there no music in thy house? He answered, Verily, for many a day we have drunk without music. Then he called out, and he said, Ho! Shajarat al-Dur. Whereupon a slave girl answered him from her chamber and came to us with a lute of Hindu made wrapped in silken bag. And she sat down and laying the lute in her lap, preluded in 21 modes. Then returning to the first, she sang a lively measure these couplets. Whoso ne'er tasted of love's sweets and bitter draught, no difference keens twixt presence bliss and absence stress. And so, who hath declined from love's true road, no difference keens twixt smooth and ruggedness. I ceased not to oppose the votaries of love, till I had tried its sweets and bitters not the less. How many a night, my pretty friend, conversed with me, and sipped I from his lips honey of loveless. Now I have drunk its cup of bitterness, until to bondmen and to freedmen I have proved me base. How short age was the night together we enjoyed, when seemed it daybreak on a nightfall's heel to press. But fate had vowed to disunite us lovers twain, and she too well hath kept her vow, the votaress, fate so decreed it. None her sentence can withstand. Where is the wight who dares oppose his lord's command? Hardly had she finished her verse, when her lord cried out with a great cry, and fell down in a fit, whereupon exclaimed the damsel, May Allah not punish thee, old man! This long time have we drunk without music, for fear the like of this falling sickness befall our lord. But now go thou to yonder chamber, and there sleep. So I went to the chamber which she showed me, and slept till morning, which, behold, a page brought me a purse of 500 dinars, and said to me, This is what my master promised thee. But return thou not to the damsel who sent thee, and let it be as though neither thou nor we had ever heard of this matter. Hearkening and obedience, answered I, and taking purse went my way. Still, I said to myself, the lady must have expected me since yesterday, and by Allah there is no help but I return to her, and tell her what passed between me and him. Otherwise she will revile me, and revile all who come from my country. So I went to her, and found her standing behind the door. And when she saw me, she says, O Ibn Mansur, thou hast done nothing for me. I asked, Who told thee of this? And she answered, O Ibn Mansur, yet another thing hath been revealed to me, and it is that when thou handest him the letter, he tore it in pieces, and throwing it on the floor, said to thee, O Ibn Mansur, I will grant thee whatever thou ask, save thy desire, which concerneth the writer of this letter. For I have no answer to her missive. Then didst thou rise from beside him in anger, but he laid hold of thy skirt, saying, O son of Mansur, abide with me today, for thou art my guest, and eat and drink and make merry, and thou shalt have thy 500 ducats. So thou didst sit with him, eating and drinking and making merry, and entertaining him with deep talk into the night, and a slave girl sang such an air and such verses, whereupon he fell down in a fit. So, O commander of the faithful, I asked her, Wast thou then with us? And she answered, O Ibn Mansur, hast thou not heard the saying of the poet? The hearts of lovers have eyes eye keen, which see the unseen by vulgar men. However, O Ibn Mansur, the night and day shift not only upon anything, but they bring to thee it change. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased not to say her permitted say. Now, when it was the 331st night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that the lady exclaimed, O Ibn Mansur, the night and the day shift not upon anything, but they bring it to change. Then she raised her glance to heaven and said, O my God and my leader and my Lord, like as thou hast afflicted me with the love of Jubayr bin Umayr, even so do thou afflict him with love of me, and transfer the passion from my heart to his heart. Then she gave me 100 sequins for my trouble in coming and going, and I took it and returned to the palace, where I found the Sultan come home from the chase. So I got my pension of him and fared back to Baghdad. Now, when next year came, I repaired to Basra, as usual, to seek my pension, and the Sultan paid it to me. But as I was about to return to Baghdad, I thought me of the Lady Budur, and said to myself, By Allah, I must needs go to her and see what hath befallen between her and her lover. So I went to her house, and finding the street before her door swept and sprinkled, and eunuchs and servants and pages standing before the entrance, said to myself, Most like grief hath broken the lady's heart, and she is dead, and some Emir or other person has taken as bard in her place. So I left it and went on to the house of Jubayr, son of Umayr, and the Shabani, where I found the benches of the porch broken down, and nary even a page at the door as of wont, and said to myself, Haply he is too dead. Then I stood still before the door of his house, with my eyes running over with tears, bemoaned in these couplets. O lords of me, who fared but whom my heart e'er followeth, return, and so my festal days with you shall be renewed. I stand before the home of you, bewailing your abode. Quiver mine eyelids and my eyes with tears, and ever dewed. I asked the house, and its remains that seem to weep and wail, Where is the man who whilom wont to lavish goods and good? He said, Go, wend thy way. Those friends like travellers have fared from springtide camp, and buried lie of earth, and worms the food. Allah never desolate us so to lose their virtue's light in length and breadth, but ever be the light in the spirit viewed. As I, O Prince of True Believers, was thus keening over the folk of the house, behold, out came a black slave thereof, and said to me, Hold thy peace, O Sheikh, may thy mother be reft of thee. Why do I see thee bemoaning the house on this wise? Quoth I frequented it of yore, when it belonged to a good friend of mine. Asked the slave, What was his name? And I answered, Jubayr bin Umayr the Shabani. Rejoiced he, And what hath befallen him? Praise be Allah, he is yet here with us in the enjoyment of property and rank and prosperity, except that Allah hath stricken him with the love of the damsel called the Lady Budur, and he is so whelmed by his love of her and his longing for her that he is like a great rock cumbering the ground. If he hunger, he saith not, Give me meat, nor if he thirst, doth he say, Give me drink. Quoth I, Ask leave for me to go to him. Said the slave, O my lord, wilt thou go in to one who understandeth, or to one who understandeth not? And I said, There is no help for it, but I see him, whatever be the case. Accordingly he went in to ask, and presently returned with permission for me to enter. Whereupon I went to Jubayr, and found him like a rock that cumbereth the ground, understanding neither sign nor speech, and when I spoke to him he answered me not. Then said one of his servants, O my lord, if thou remember aught of verse, repeat it and raise thy voice, and he will be aroused by this, and speak with thee. So I versified in these two couplets. Hast quit the love of moons, or dost persist? Dost wake or nights, or close in sleep thine eyes? If I thy tears in torrents flow, then learn eternal thou shalt dwell in paradise. When he heard these verses, he opened his eyes and said, Welcome, O son of Mansur. Verily the jest is become earnest. Quoth I, O my lord, is there aught thou wouldst have me do for thee? Answered he, Yes, I would fain write her a letter and send it to her by thee. If thou bring me back her answer, thou shalt have 1,000 dinars, and if not, 200 for thy pains. So I said, Do what seemeth good to thee. And Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased saying her permitted say. Now, when it was the 332nd night, she said, It hath reached me, O auspicious king, that Ibn Mansur continued. So I said, Do what seemeth good to thee. Whereupon he called to one of his slave girls, Bring me ink case and paper, and wrote these couplets. I pray in Allah's name, O princess mine, be light on me, for love hath robbed me of my reason's sight. Slaved me this longing, and enthralled me love of you, and clad in sickness garb, a poor and abject wight. I want ere this to think small things of love, and behold, O princess mine, 'twas silly thing, an oversight. And when it showed me swelling surges of its sea, to Allah's hest I bowed and pitied lover's plight. And will you show pity and deign a meeting grant? And will you kill me still forgot, not good requite? Then he sealed the letter and gave it to me. So I took it, and repairing to Budur's house, raised the door curtain little by little as before, and looking, behold, I saw 10 damsels, high-bosomed virgins like moons, and the Lady Budur, as she were the full moon among the stars, sitting in the midst of the sun, when it is clear of clouds and mist, nor was there on her any trace of pain or care. And as I looked and marvelled at her case, she turned her glance upon me, and seeing me standing there at the door, said to me, Welcome, and all hail to thee, O Ibn Mansur. Come in, come in. So I entered, and saluting her, gave her the letter, and she read it. And when she understood it, she said laughingly to me, Oh, Ibn Mansur, the poet lied not when he sang. Indeed, I'll bear my love for thee with firmer soul, until from thee to me shall come a messenger. Look ye, O Ibn Mansur, I will write thee an answer, that he may give thee what he promised thee. And I answered, Allah requite thee with good. So she called out to the handmaid, Bring me inkcase and paper, and wrote these couplets. How comes it I fulfilled my vow, that while that vow broke you, and seen me lean to inequity wrought you? 'Twas your initiated wrongness, dealing in despite, you were the treacher, and treason came from only you. I never ceased to cherish mid the sons of men my troth, and keep your honor brightest bright, and swear by name of you, until I saw with eyes of me what evil you had done, until I heard with ears of me what foul report spread you. Shall I bring low my proper worth while raising yours so high? By Allah, had you honored me, eke I had honored you. But now, uprooting severance, I will fain console my heart, and wring my fingers clean of you for evermore to part. Quoth I, By Allah, O my lady, between him and death there is but the reading of this letter. So I tore it in pieces, and said to her, Write him other than these lines. I hear and obey, answered she, and wrote the following couplets. Indeed, I am consoled now, and sleep without a tear, and all that happened slandering tongues have whispered in my ear. My heart obeyed my hest, and soon forgot thy memory, and leaned mine eyelids, 'twas the best to live in severance sheer. He lied who said that severance is a bitter thing than gall. He never disappointed me, like wine, I find it cheer. I learnt to hate all the news of thee, e'en mention of thy name, and turn away and look thereon with loathing pure and mere look I cast thee out of my heart, and far from vitals mine. Then let the slanderer rot this truth, and see I am sincere. Quoth I, By Allah, O my lady, when he shall read these verses, his soul will depart his body. Quoth she, O Ibn Mansur, is passion indeed come to such a pass with him, that thou sayest this saying? Quoth I, Had I said more than this, verily it were but the truth, but mercy is of the nature of the noble. Now when she heard this, her eyes brimmed over with tears, and she wrote him a note. I swear by Allah, O Commander of the Faithful, there is none in thy chancery could write the like of it, and therein were these couplets. How long shall I thy coyness and thy aversion see? Thou hast satisfied my censures and pleased their enmity. I did amiss and wot it not, so deign to tell me now, whatso they told thee, haply 'twas the merest calamity. I wish to welcome thee, dear love, even as I welcome I sleep to these eyes and eyelids, to the place of sleep to be. And since 'tis thou hast made me drain the unmixed cup of love, if me thou see with wine bemused, heap not thy blame on me. And when she had written this missive, and Shahrazad perceived the dawn of the day, and ceased to say her permitted say, and so do I cease my telling of this tale until it be morrow.